soft at the same time.
So we're gonna be making a super easy shredded beef that is gonna be cooked with mild banana peppers. This is gonna give it some amazing vinegary, sour, punchy flavor. And we're gonna be making this into a sandwich today. So I'm so excited to share this with you. So you can see I have a cast iron here. It's literally smoking hot. And I'm putting a liberal amount of salt. When you get a chuck roast, sometimes it'll have like a twine around it. You can see the indentations of where mine did. I always just cut that off because you want all of this to kind of start to fall apart when we cook it in our Instapot. This is about a 4-pound chuck roast. Put a little bit of oil, and now we're gonna sear this bad boy. So, woo! You hear that? Wait for this to sear. And what you wanna be sure of is that you do not touch this. Many times, you know, we want to immediately touch meat after we put it in the pan, and it's definitely not what we want to do here because then a crust is not going to form. The second trick to getting a really good sear is to make sure that when you are going to put the meat in, you dry it really well with a paper towel. When you buy meat at the butcher or in a package, it's very, very wet. And you want to make sure that you remove all of that liquid before you start searing it. I'm going to go ahead and turn this. Oh yeah, look at this. Look at this. Wow, that is a crust. It's exactly what you want. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you, sometimes I don't have time to go through this searing process, and it's really not a big deal. You can put this in your Instapot or in your slow cooker without searing it. I like to sear it just to give it that extra depth of flavor. But if it is just like not your thing to have to go through searing the meat on that day, no problem, skip it. I have made it many times without a sear. It's still delicious. I have my Instapot insert right here. This meat is done searing, and I'm gonna show you just how easy this is to throw together. So here's my big, beautiful piece of meat, and right into the Instapot it goes. Now we're just gonna add in a bunch of flavorings and liquid. You have kind of a couple of options here. You can either pressure cook this or you can slow cook it depending on your day and how this is gonna work for you. So it's a very simplistic method that you can make sure is kind of working for you as opposed to you trying to figure out how to make a recipe work, which is something that I highly believe in. We're gonna add in 3 cloves of garlic, a whole jar of banana peppers. Now, because the kids are eating this, I go with mild banana peppers. If you're making this for everyone who likes spicy food, then you could totally do pepperoncinis here to give it a little more of a kick. That would be super delicious. I'm gonna add in some oregano. I really love this Frontier Co-op oregano. I feel like it's very fragrant, so this is definitely something that I always have a couple of jars of in my spice cabinet. I'll also add in some beef broth. I will tell you, I am not a big fan of the boxed beef broth options. They always end up tasting a little bit either bitter or just really fake, so I love better than bouillon. I picked up this one at Costco, that's why it's so massive. They sell this everywhere now. I've seen it at Ralph's, I've seen it at Whole Foods. What it is it's a concentrate, but it's not a powder. So you can see it almost looks like molasses in there, and it's, oh my God, it smells so good. You just take hot water and then you put in a tablespoon, mix it up, and you could see I have this really beautiful beef broth now. You just wanna add in enough broth to almost cover your roast. I'm not gonna give you an exact measurement here that you always need to follow. I have an almost 5-pound chuck roast and I used about 3 cups of broth. Depending on kind of where your chuck roast sits in size, adjust. It's not that big of a deal. Like, this is definitely not something where you need to be pulling out any type of measuring spoons or be jotting down very difficult measurements. This is total just what I like to call instinctual cooking. Some black pepper. That's it. Now, I'm gonna pressure cook it just because I want it to go fast. And with pressure cooking, what you wanna remember is that you are shortening the cooking time of something that would normally be kind of hours and hours of simmering on the stove. So if I were to cook this in a pot on the stove, it would probably take 3 hours for this meat to get nice and tender on low. If I were to slow cook it on that feature, then it would take 8 hours. Pressure cooking it, I'll be able to get this done in about 1 hour and 20 minutes. So I now set this at 1 hour and 15 minutes on high, and I'm gonna press start. It has been a very long hour and 15 minutes because I've been smelling this and I am so hungry and it smells so freaking good. So let's open up our Instapot. And whoop, there we go. Oh, yes, 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 yes. Oh, you smell so peppery. Woo! And what I do is I just go in and I shred it up. And, you know, let's be real, this is a chuck roast, and why a chuck roast is such a great roast to do this with is because it has a nice amount of fat in it. But once you cook this down, you can really remove these fat pieces, and you know, you can just discard this and it won't end up in your sandwiches. All right, this is beautifully shredded. And remember, this is not spicy. So if it was at this point for my younger son, I would stop here. He would like this in more of like a softer sandwich. So I would go ahead and leave this shredded. I'm just moistening it with a little bit of the beautiful like au jus that's here inside of the Instapot. Emptied it out a little bit, not everything, just enough so that way, you know, it's really, when you're biting into it, you get that crusty bread and then meat. I'm gonna put in provolone. I'm gonna put this just on the bottom. 1, 2, 3, just shingle it for 5 slices. Move this out of the way. And then I'm gonna put this under the broiler. So that way the cheese gets nice and toasty and melted. For the top loaf of the bread, this is where we kind of get a little bit picky and choosy about what we like to put in. So my husband and I love this creamy horseradish sauce. And then Jacob, my older son, likes this spicy harissa mayonnaise. But we're gonna go a little half and half today, just so that way everyone gets what they want, which is definitely something I try to do with the kids. What I like to do is develop these types of recipes that everyone eats the base, and then it's up to you to put whatever condiments or toppings or spice that you want that makes it great for you. Spicy harissa on this side. It exploded on me. Okay. Horseradish got a little crazy. All right, here we go. It is bubbly, 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 bubbly. So here I have beef, and you can see I didn't overly shred it. I don't like when in shredded beef sandwiches when it's like tiny, tiny strings everywhere. I like to be able to like still bite on some meat. And then, you know, so we're healthy, we're gonna put a little bit of something green. Could do arugula, I just didn't have any. I had some of this beautiful baby kale. This type of a hot sandwich reminds me so much of my grandpa. My grandma and grandpa raised me, and my grandfather was a chef in the Navy during World War II. So he was part of the Battle of Iwo Jima, and he loved like hot sandwiches like this. Forgot to put a little bit of the au jus on the top crusty loaf. You wanna do this just so that way it begins to soften. When I go to Philippe's, I always get my sandwiches double dipped, which means that they dip it into the au jus twice, and the sandwich is borderline getting soggy, and I love it that way. So we're gonna cut right into it. See, it is nice and moist in there. And then I'm gonna cut it a little bit smaller. I try to keep it like good biting height. Sometimes these suckers get like this, and it's like 2 bites to get, and I can't do that. We are going to get our sauce. My husband's gonna come and taste test this one with me because this is one of his favorite meals. This is Sean.
Hello. This looks
You gonna
great.
dip first?
Yeah.
Go for it.
I'm gonna do the
Dip.
Wow, smooth.
All right, my turn. Hold on.
There you have it.
All right, that is one of our family favorite. 10 minutes of prep, an hour and 15 minutes in the Instapot. It takes me about 5 minutes to assemble it in the evening. I really hope that you love this recipe and that you give it a try. Tell me in the comments if you have tried this or what your favorite kind of like hot sandwiches. I would love to know. All right, I'm Nicole Shahar. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you on my next video.